Hello friends, I'm Tiffany and here to show you what I read in March. And since we were focusing, at least I was, on March Mystery Madness this year, I read almost exclusively mysteries with a couple of exceptions, all category romance in terms of the fiction that I read. So I'm super excited to show you, and let's get started. So at the beginning of the month, this was where I was finishing up a book from February that is not a mystery. So the very first book that I finished in March is Fast Track Dating Deception by Joss Wood, and this is a Harlequin Presents title. It is from February of 26, so very, very recent, and it is number 4368 in that series. I like racing books. If you have seen my recent Harlequin NASCAR unboxing, you know about that. So once I discovered these Formula One themed books, I have started to scoop them up whenever I see them. So I bought this one and finished reading it in March, and I had bought and read this one in February. And this is also from February of 2026. It is from the main Harlequin romance line, and this is Bridesmaid's Fast Track Fling by L. Brown from February 26. Like I just mentioned, it is number 4985 in the Harlequin romance series. So I read these both in tandem, and this I technically finished in February, but I brought it because of these two books, I really liked this one the best. I loved it, but they're both on the Formula One theme, so I just thought that I would show them both. I finished this one in March. So this book is about a Formula One driver, and his publicist is the heroine, and he has sort of a playboy reputation, and she's part of the public sort of the media team for him, and he ends up promoting her because of an incident that happens where that he does not come out of looking very good, and he has to do major damage control. And she's very, like you often see in these Harlequin Presents, she's very much a contrast to him, where he has a playboy image. She seems very much more wholesome and, and more ordinary, if you will, than his reputation as a millionaire Formula One driver, playboy. And so he ends up promoting her to be his main publicist to deal with this situation, and of course shenanigans result. And it was a good book. I gave it, I believe, 3 stars. I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. But I did like this one more. So in this one, we also have a driver, as a Formula One driver, as the hero. But the heroine is in Monaco, which of course is the scene of quite a lot of Formula One excitement. So it's the week leading up to the race in Monaco, and he is obviously in town for the race. She is in town to be the best matron of honor, for her friend's wedding. And she literally bumps into him in the basement of the hotel while he's trying to skulk about and elude reporters and fans. And she has no idea who he is, that he is anybody famous at all. And he plays along because it's so refreshing to have somebody not recognize him for who he is, because he's obviously very famous and well known. And they're attracted to each other, and so he makes arrangements. She thinks that he works in the bakery. I'm trying to remember exactly why. I think because of where they ran into each other in the hotel. And she wants to have these special cookies made for her friend's wedding and is trying to find somebody to make them. And so he agrees that he'll take her around the city to try to find a big bakery that will make them, because the hotel told her that they couldn't do it. And so they make arrangements to meet up. He's got to go through all this to, prevent her from realizing or finding out who he is. He takes her around on his motorcycle, and there's like they get together on his yacht and such, and she thinks that he works in the hotel as a baker and has no idea who he is. I loved this book. I loved it. Pretty sure I gave this one 5 stars. This was last month, so I don't always remember. But I loved it. Like, I'm keeping this book to potentially reread in the future. So all along, of course, you're wondering, like, when is she going to find out and how is she going to react? And so I really enjoyed this one. Also enjoyed this one, Fast Track Dating Deception. So they pretend, so in addition to him promoting her to be his publicist, they pretend to be in a relationship so that the press will stop talking about him being such a playboy. So that's another important piece of the plot that I didn't mention. So I also did enjoy this one, but I didn't enjoy it as much as this one. So I just thought I would mention both. But I did finish reading this in March. So we have our Harlequin romance and Harlequin presents representation there. So now the rest of the books that I read are all either love-inspired suspense or Harlequin intrigue, which are 2 of my very favorite lines that Harlequin puts out. So first up is Undercover Baby Rescue by Maggie Black. And this is love-inspired romantic, love-inspired suspense is its official name, from January of 2024. It does not have the number on the spine, at least, but it's from January of 2024. 5 stars. This was fantastic. I've had this on my shelf for a while, and I've been trying to read these smaller books because they've redone the covers on all of the books, and they're in this bigger style now. And with my vision, it's just much easier for me to read this larger size. I always get larger print where available, but the physical larger size I find easier to read, especially in bed. And so I've been trying to read off the remaining books that I have that are this size of my more recent books, because obviously I've got vintage books and such, and then all bets are off with regards to size and all of that, but in print. But I've been trying to get to the last of the ones I bought like in the past couple of years before they enlarged the physical footprint of the book, and this is one of them. This was outstanding. I love books with this kind of winter setting. So this is about a baby napping ring and sort of baby trafficking, and the hero's nephew is abducted right after birth by somebody who appears to work in the hospital, and they get a lead that the baby is at this camp that is owned by a couple who live on site. And right, do they own it or they work there? It's one or the other, but they live at this camp, and it's up in the mountains, I believe, set in British Columbia. And so he goes undercover, and the heroine is his former fiance, and they both work in law enforcement, and so they go undercover together, acting as a married couple, to go and try to see if this is in fact his nephew, and if this is part of this larger baby napping ring that they've been trying to infiltrate. And it was excellent. I could not wait to keep picking this one up and reading it, and I couldn't wait to see like what happened and who, if I figured it was actually his nephew, but how they were gonna be able to get the baby back, and the larger mastermind of this whole operation with the baby napping. Really genuinely enjoyed this book. This is a standalone story. It's not part of a series within Love Inspired Suspense. I have already bookmarked this author's future books to purchase because I was so enthralled with this one. So that is Maggie K. Black. Excellent. Loved this book. So that was that one. And then I started a series within Harlequin Intrigue. So first actually is this book, which is Killer on the Potomac. The author here is K.D. Richards. The series is set in and around Washington, D.C., and I really loved that because I lived in Washington, D.C. for a summer when I was in college. And so that just setting always speaks to me in terms of selecting stories. And I love the Harlequin Intrigue books. I like suspense generally. I prefer Harlequin Intrigue over Harlequin Romantic Suspense because the focus is more on the mystery in these. So that's why I usually pick these up. So the premise, this is book 1 in the series. The series is called Guardians of Justice. So this is from, so Killer on the Potomac is from October of 2025. It is number 2317 in Harlequin Intrigue. So our premise is that there's a serial killer and our heroine is a detective. She's investigating the serial killer, and this all ramps up a notch when a senator's daughter is the victim of this serial killer. And the hero is an FBI profiler. And so this was somebody that she had formerly dated, and he moved away for a job years before. And so they had broken it off. She hasn't seen him since. And then he's in on this case as well, on the serial killer case. So because of the senator. And so they have to work together, and I just, this was another excellent book. 5 stars, loved it. This is another keeper. So Keeper, the Undercover Baby Rescue, and Keeper on the Bridesmaid book, where she doesn't know he's the F1 driver for 2/3 of the book. So I don't keep all of my newer print books. I keep select ones. And so I just don't have space. So others I will donate to the little library that we have for give a book, take a book type of a situation. This one is a keeper. Loved it. The chemistry between the characters was excellent. The mystery, I thought, was, I was on the edge of my seat. I did not guess the person, the bad guy. So I was surprised at the end. And I just thought it was terrific. Excellent character development, excellent pacing. I would definitely read this again. And happily, I already had book 2, which is Death by Data. Again, Katie Richards. This is from December of 2025, number 2329 in the Harlequin Intrigue series, book 2 in Guardians of Justice. And so we have here the hero is a police detective, and the heroine is a cybersecurity expert. And he used to live in DC, went to college, I think in Georgetown, he mentions, or graduate school, and that's where he had met the heroine, but she was dating his best friend. And so he always just kept this crush to himself. But then he gets a job in, I believe, Chicago. So he moves away, kind of loses touch. But then in the meantime, she marries the friend, they have a daughter together, but they ultimately get divorced, and they've been divorced now for a little while. So they reconnect on a case where she is targeted, actually, the heroine. So she's at home, her daughter is out of town visiting her dad, and somebody breaks into her house and assaults her, demanding that she give this person what they're just saying is the code, and she has no idea what they're talking about. And so he is, brought in to investigate, and there's a lot of other incidents that take place, and what they find is that somebody that Lisa has worked with and knew at least a little bit, wasn't a current colleague or anything, but she had known him through the cybersecurity business, that he was somehow involved in something that he shouldn't have been, and he is found dead in a local park. And at first it's made to look like a suicide, but then becomes clear that he was murdered. And so they're wondering if this person who was trying to get a code from Lisa, the heroine, if this is connected. And so they're investigating together. Again, excellent writing, excellent character development and pacing. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought that the first book was a little bit better, but this was still excellent. I cannot wait till the next book comes out, which I believe might be next month. I think it might be a May book, which means that it would be available from Harlequin's website in April. So I will be on the lookout, and I will be buying it. can't wait. Can't recommend this series highly enough. Loved it. Okay, 2 more to go. And they are both love-inspired suspense. And I love this line. So this is a standalone story called Trapped on the Alaskan Glacier. And our author is Megan Short. This is from February of 2026, so very, very recent. Does not have the number on the spine. But this was really, this was good. I gave this, I believe, 3.75 stars. Getting really exact. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it wasn't as good as those Guardians of Justice books that I had just read, but I still thought it kept me coming back for more. I enjoyed. So she is in the Witness Protection Program, stationed in Alaska, because she testified and was set to testify again against this mob boss. And her cover is blown somehow, and there's people going after her. And the hero works for the U.S. Marshals Service and is sent in to extract her and protect her. And so while they're trying to make their way from this small town she was living in Alaska to, I think, Fairbanks, so that they can catch a flight and leave to parts unknown, they're pursued. Somebody keeps, finding them. And so they have to make a daring escape off of a ferry. And they're on the glacier, as you would imagine, running from the bad guys. And so you have to, lots of action, thinking about, is somebody from within the organization, working both sides, so it got a little convoluted. I thought, who was good, who was bad, who was pretending to be good versus bad. It was a lot going on, but I did enjoy the book, and it kept me wanting to come back and see how it would resolve. So really good. I would recommend this one. I would say I'm going to donate this one and not keep it for a future reread, but I really enjoyed it. Thought it was quite good. Definitely would recommend. And our last love-inspired suspense I just finished this morning. This is called Danger in the Wilderness by Darlene L. Turner, and it is from September of 2025. And this is book 1 in the National Park Protectors series. And I like the national park theme. Even though I don't like to camp, I really like books that are set around camping. I find it super cozy. So I was excited to read this one. And book 2 came out, I believe, in December, and for some reason I hadn't picked it up yet. So it's in a box from Harlequin that is waiting for me at home. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I would give this one, I'm trying to remember, 3.5 stars, because I just put that into Goodreads. I really enjoyed it. It did seem to me even though it's book 1 in a series, it seemed like the author was alluding to backstories on the characters in such a way that usually means that there's been previous books, but this is book 1, so I was confused. But when I read the afterword, I found out that this family that's featured in this book of park rangers this family tree was in other series that she's written, so I guess that makes sense. So there were some other backstories to the family if one was interested enough to go back and read. But the premise of this is that there's this park campfire killer killing people in the national parks in the Yukon. I liked that Canadian setting. I thought that was different because I was expecting it to be U.S. national parks. So I really enjoyed that it was set in Canada. And so the hero is a park warden. The heroine is a criminal profiler who's, trying to work to discover who this serial killer is. And the hero is on a camping trip with his dad. Now, it occurred to me, just like in horror movies, people sometimes make ill-advised decisions, and that's what keeps the action going. But I'm thinking, why would you go camping in a remote, you're tent camping, right? So you're very much exposed to the elements and other possible things when there's a serial killer on the loose. I mean, who's targeting people who are camping. So they talk about how the park that they were in had not been struck yet by this park campfire killer, but that still seemed a little too close that's just me. But while he's camping with his dad is abducted while he's off getting firewood. And the serial killer will kidnap campers and then torture them and then kill them with like 72 hours later. So they're on this timeline to try to find out. There's all kinds of, like, there's extra people kidnapped here, and they then find some of them alive and are trying to get clues from them, but then somehow the park campfire killer comes back and kills them, like, even once law enforcement is intervening. So it seems like a little bit of that they need to be doing a better job managing this serial killer, who, granted, I know is not exactly like you can always control serial killers, but certain things are back within their control and then kind of slip out of their grasp a little bit. But I was very much wrapped up in the action. I couldn't wait to see who the murderer was. I didn't guess before the end of the book, which I always really like. And yeah, so I liked it, really enjoyed. And I'm looking forward to reading the next book in the series. I don't think this will be a keeper by my little system. I'll probably donate it, but very much looking forward to reading the other books in the series. So that was my March. I have a huge stack of Amish books for April because I love Amish books. So I'm going to be reading Amish all month long. So I'll be back with an April TBR video that's going to be coming up. And I've got some other plans. So stay tuned. I'll talk to you soon, friends. Bye.